Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Wednesday the 12th of March, and in this educational video there's no recommendation or advice whatsoever. It is for educational purposes only to see or to show you how I apply technical analysis to decision making. Today we'll start again with Apple that was a little bit against some of the other big names, not all of them, but some of them. It continued lower yesterday, not a big surprise really, but what it did, it spiked below support, minor support here to 219.70, and about close just above. And it will be key here for the next couple of days what will happen. I think we will see it trading lower. It could bounce a little bit, but negative sentiment on the RSI. MACD also, I haven't talked much about MACD, but MACD also indicating lower levels. We can also see moving averages are declining, and on weekly we are about to establish a bearish trend, so it looks fairly heavy at the moment for Apple. There could be short-term potential down to 213 and a bit, 214. If it takes out that, well, then there's not much stopping it until below 200. To really reverse the trend, it needs to get back above 240. Major platforms, we also have a quick look at that. It closed just above, or a few dollars above, key support here at 584. Negative sentiment on the RSI though. I think we will see it bouncing a little bit here the next few days, but there's some strong resistance up in the region around 642. And maybe we should just touch upon Tesla just quite quickly. Almost spiked to the support just above 214, but we can see we are in this area here where we had some consolidation, like here where we had this gap. Still negative sentiment. There's no divergence indicating we could see lower levels on Tesla, but maybe it's time for a little bit of bottom fishing for some speculators out there, and we could maybe see a little bit of a bounce. But if it takes out 214, well, there's not much support until, well, we have a little bit of support at I think it's around 200, just 202.5, and then 182. Moving on to the broad index, S&P 500, of course, as usual. And let's have a look where what it did yesterday. We had S&P 500 below 5,600. There's not really any strong support until around 5,400. That doesn't mean that it can't bounce at all, but it can bounce a little bit. It needs to get back above 5670 to have a chance to actually test the 200 moving average. And just quickly, let's have a look at the weekly. We'll see we are actually, sorry about I use some special counting here to see where we are moving. We are below the 55 at the moment. The weekly RSI currently below 40 threshold. Let's see if that will also be the case at the end of the week. Pre-market, there is not much change. It's basically unchanged from yesterday, but that can all change during the day. But for now, there's no change. We have Nasdaq 100 below support at 19,622. No strong support. Well, I wouldn't say it's not that strong. I think 19,000, of course, is a psychological level, but negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, could mean that we could drop lower in the coming days and weeks. Not without corrections, though, minor corrections. Can it get back above 20,000? That will be a bit of a struggle, but if it can do that, then we maybe could see a little bit of a relief rally to 20,500, but we are in a bearish trend. Dow Jones also pushed lower and now closed below support at 41,563. Negative sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely lower levels. It could try to get back above 41,877 and the 200 moving average, but I think it will be a little bit of a struggle. But again, there could be a little bit of a counter, so be aware of that. But we are in a bearish trend. European equities got hit hard yesterday too. It was not that resilient, and EuroStoxx50 closed just below support at 53.14. However, RSI is still in a positive sentiment, didn't close below 40 threshold, so that will be key here the next couple of days. Will it actually close below or not? And we can see, well, there will be some support areas here at 5,228. There's a little bit of support there, and there will also be a little bit of support. And this is how you can, it's not all the time we know exactly where these support levels will be, but we know that, you know, the past peaks could be some levels where it broke off. And here we have the 55 moving average coming up, giving some support there. Here pre-market, there's still about 20 minutes until market opens when I record this video. Pre-market, it is bouncing a little bit, about 0.25%, but let's see, can it get back above the that support resistance line there. DAX below a rising trend line, but still above 22,148 support, and the reason for this is there's a gap. You can see it actually gapped higher here, and it didn't close below, so that's a support area. And then we have a support at 21,800, and pre-market up about 0.25%, so we could see a little bit of a bounce back. If RSI can, if the market can bounce so much that the RSI can get back above 60 threshold, well, then we could resume uptrend. The rally in euro dollar spiked to just above resistance at 109.35 yesterday. I think we will see a correction, a setback, and for that you can use here we are, the Fibonacci retracement. We could see a setback down to 108, 107. 20, which is the 38.2 retracement, and the 200 moving average. I think we'll see that. If it takes out yesterday's peak, then at 109.47, and then I will say 109.50, always add or subtract a little bit, then we could see a push above 110. But for now, it seems like we should have a bit of correction, some profit taking. We have cable sterling dollar still potential up to 130.5. But could also set back a little bit to test 128 support. Euro sterling very close to 84.60-65 resistance. I think it will test it, but then I think we'll see a little bit of a setback. It could set back down to around the 200 moving average, which is currently around 83.80. Before a next push. There's positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating euro sterling is likely to push higher. Yen pairs and dollar yen, well, past couple of days it actually spiked below the 147.20 support, but closed above every single day and still above this falling trend line. We are in a bearish trend, no question about it. You can see this channel-like behavior here. Now we see a bounce, and I think we could see a bounce above 148.65. Still negative sentiment on the RSI and no divergence, indicating we're likely to see lower levels, but for now a little bit of a correction. However, to establish a bullish trend, it needs to get back about 151.30, but then you can see the 55 moving average is about to cross over the 100, and they're both declining. That is not a bullish sign, so that tells us this is merely just a correction before next move lower. And again, I just want to highlight this. We can see here on the weekly chart the really strong support, 148.65. Sorry, now it's a resistance. It used to be a support, now it's a resistance. It can still peak just a little bit above. We have the euro yen that closed above 161.18, 161.20 yesterday, back above the cloud, back in positive sentiment on the RSI this morning. If it can stay above today on the 60 threshold, well, then it could establish a bullish trend. And pointing higher towards 165. A little bit of struggle with the falling trend line here, and the 200 moving average will give some resistance. Aussie yen, is it making a double bottom? And if it does, well, then we could see a bounce. It will be confirmed if it breaks above 94.72, then we can see a push up to 96.5, maybe a little bit higher. But for now, it just seems like it. However, if it takes out the lows at 91.80, well, then we are looking at 90 level. Sterling yen, still in this tight range here, sideways range trading between the 55 moving average coming down there, giving some resistance, but it needs to get back above 193.20 for a bullish trend, and it needs to break below 188.15 to establish a bearish trend. On Aussie dollar, well, it's still in this correction phase here without a clear direction. It should move lower because we are in a negative sentiment. It needs to get back above 60 threshold to change that. If it takes out the peak here at the 63, 65 from last week, then I think we'll see it bouncing higher and move towards 65, maybe 65.5. But we have then the 200 moving average coming down there. If it takes out 61.85, well, then bearish trend is to resume. Dollar Canada again on the move, and let's just zoom in a little bit. Very close to testing the previous peak here at 145, 145.5. Just below that, RSI is about to break back above 60 threshold. It is already in a positive sentiment, indicating we are likely to see higher dollar Canada levels. We were lastly above the cloud, so that is also positive. We are above the 55 moving average. We can see that 21 is rising now, and it could in a couple of days push above the 55. So I think we'll see a push up to 146.60, 50-60 level, maybe even higher. Sterling Canada still pushing higher, but it looks very stretched. I would say RSI values quite elevated, and minor divergence building up there. So a little bit of a balance. We peaked to the 200% of this correction here at 187.74. We should have a correction, but we don't have it now at the moment. So what I will do though, I will add, if it suddenly kicks in, and we know this cross is quite volatile, we could see a setback a bit down to 185, maybe down to 183 and 45 there. Euro Swiss pushed higher yesterday, pausing a little bit today, just below 96.50. We are in a bullish trend and could push higher here in the coming days and weeks. A little bit of setback, but there should be room up to 97, possibly 97.25. For Euro Swiss to reverse this, it needs to get back about 94.90. Dollar Swiss tested the support area here around 87.65 a couple of times, seems to be bouncing, and also here I will add a Fibonacci on the last leg. You can do that, and then we should see it back to 89.30 and the 100 moving average. We could see a correction to that level. If it takes out the lows here from earlier this week at 87.58, then we could see the 87.33 being taken out and a push lower to 86.15. The dollar index, when we spoke yesterday, it was actually trading below 103.28, but it closed above, and I think we'll see a bounce. And here we can also add a Fibonacci and say, okay, let's see if we can get back up to the 200 moving average and the 104.88. This is the 38.2 retracement. A little bit of resistance there at 104.41. If it really gets its mojo back, there could be potential up to 61.8 and 105.92. Taking out the lows here, well, then we're moving towards 102. Gold, really indecisive. I mean, it dipped below minor support on the 38.2 retracement at 28.90. Then bounce back. If it can get back above 28.30, well, then we could see it resuming uptrend, and that will also mean that if we get the RSI back above the 60 threshold, it will support that. Taking out the lows here from the past 2 days, I will actually, let me see if I can catch it. There we are. I will actually put that in there, 28.80. Then we could see a push down to the 28.50, 28.30 key support areas. Silver Silver has resumed uptrend, higher high, higher low, higher high now. RSI back above 60 threshold. And it was already in a positive sentiment anyway, so I think it will push higher above 33 and a half, possibly up to 34. If it takes out the lows from yesterday here at 31.80, then downtrend is in motion. The copper future seems to have really struggling with the 485 level here. It can't take it out. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, minor divergence, or there's some divergence there, but as we have talked about so many times, there is upside potential to 500 and above on the medium term. Moving on to energy and crude oil here, WTI crude oil seems to have found some support here at 65 and a quarter. Dipped down to it a couple of times. Maybe we could see a correction up to 68.40 level. I remove this one, 64.80 level. If it takes out 65.20, well, then we're looking at 64, possibly around down to 62. Brent crude oil, more the same picture really. Found some support here of 68.35, 68.60. Could bounce up to 72, but we are in a bearish trend, and as we can see here, medium term with potential down to 65. Dutch TTF gas, and let's just zoom in a little bit here. We can see it bounced up to the 61.8 and a little bit more than that. Could push up to the 786 retracement at 40, well, just below 45. Then I think we'll see a setback, so be aware there. We are still in a bearish trend, or lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, but for now we are in a corrective phase. If it starts moving back below 40, well, then we are looking at pressure, downside pressure to 36. The US nat gas, this top and reversal shooting star-like pattern there, indicating we could see a setback, and then I'll say, okay, let's also add a Fibonacci to that last leg, or that leg up there, and say, well, I think we could dip back to 61.8 at 4.18, and maybe down to $4. On the yields front, and US 10-year Treasury yields has been dancing sideways here between 4.30 and 4.15 the past week or so. Strong overhead resistance around 4.40, 4.45. Key support here at 4.12. It did below a little bit, but if it takes it out once again, then I think we'll see it at 4%. The 2-year, well, just around 3.90, 3.88. If it takes out 3.84, well, then we could see it lower to 3.70. There's still potential to a bounce up above 4%, a 4.05. But as we can see, all moving average declining, negative sentiment, no divergence, indicating lower levels. On the European yields, we have the EU 10-year. Again, trying to push higher towards 3%, and I think we could reach that fairly soon, but it is stretched. I'm not quite sure if we actually get to 3%, but it will at least be very close to. We have been there before a couple of years ago, back here in 2023. On the UK 10-year, let's zoom in a little bit. It's just dancing around this 470, 460 level. This morning seems to be opening around 470. I still think it could push higher towards 480 if it takes out the spike up there at 479, 480. Well, then we are looking at 5%. If it moves back below 455, well, then we are looking at 440. Crypto and Bitcoin keeps bouncing a little bit from the 786 retracement at 77,700. Struggling here just below 84,000. If it can get back above 85, then I think we could see a push up to 90,000, taking out the lows from yesterday at 76,000. 24,555, well, then this 73,350 support area here will be under pressure. We have Ethereum found some support here at 1755, coming back, all we talked about yesterday, coming back all the way from this level here. But if it's being taken out, well, then there's risk down to around 1500. It really needs to get back above 2120 to see any meaningful bounce towards 2600. All right, that's all for today. Tomorrow there will be a slight delay because I'm traveling and I have some meetings and everything, and then I will be back as normal Friday, around normal, maybe a little bit earlier. All right, have a nice day.